Tony, this is an election like none other. We're in the middle of COVID and all that it encompasses. What role will this play in the election? How will an election look if people are worried about potentially being locked down for a fourth time or concerned about the Delta variant and these emerging threats?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Usually when you call an election early, people are upset with you for 4 or 5 days and then they forget about it and they go on with the issues. I'm not sure that's the case this time, because the reason that people are upset that you call the election is that Justin Trudeau called the election is because of COVID and the Delta variant, which continues to be a factor. So it may continue to be an irritant for the governing Liberals as we go along the road. The other interesting statistic I'd like to share with you is that 37% of Canadians, according to polling, would prefer to vote by mail rather than in person at the ballot stations. That's unprecedented. I think there were 50,000 mail-in ballots last federal election, but this would indicate there might be 5 million mail-in ballots.
Wow.
That changes a lot.
And it's not like we've had months like we saw the mail-in ballots work in the federal election in America and the US. We're talking we have like 40 days to sort this all out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So either those people don't vote because it's too difficult to vote by mail, or it could be that Elections Canada gets overwhelmed by 5 million ballots. I don't know which one may happen. So that changes things a little bit too, and changes the calculations of the party organizers who you are used to working for advance polling, a week before voting day, and then working on the GOTV, as it's called, the get out the vote.
Yes.
On voting day, that may be completely irrelevant if everything's about mail-in ballots. So it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Well, now you're going to have probably 2 get out the votes. You'll have the get out the vote mail cutoff day, which may be actually helpful. It'll ease some of that craziness that happens on the actual voting day on September 20th. And I've done those roles before, and yeah, you really want to pull out your hair in that process, but it's really exciting. Okay, so when we're talking about the mail-in ballots, and I brought up, the American election, how they had mail-in ballots, and you can't avoid thinking of what happened down there and all the flaws, to put it gently, that happened. The number one question I have is, will we have a winner declared September 20th?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. If there's 5 million ballots by mail to count on election night, very difficult to see how we could have, all of these ridings decided, especially if it's very close. There's also another factor, just to stir the pot a little bit more on your Tanya, which is overseas ballots. The Liberals changed the law to make it a lot easier for Canadians who have lived overseas for many, many years to vote in federal elections. They changed the law to make it a lot easier. So you might see a lot of overseas ballots that come in. Interestingly, the Conservative Party for the first time created an overseas Conservative Party of Canada organization led by John Baird and Nigel Wright to help organize in the UK and the US and other places. So obviously, if the Conservatives are doing that, I'm sure the Liberals have done it as well. They're seeing a potential to harvest some ballots overseas now.
Okay, now I should know this. I don't, because maybe mail-in ballots weren't a really big thing before. But what happens if someone lives, say, in the UK, in London, England, for example, and they're voting? Where does that vote get attributed? I'm used to voting in my riding. I'm electing my local member of parliament. My vote puts him or her in power. And if, there are enough, Conservatives, Liberals, whatever, an NDP winning, then they get the majority. Where do overseas ballots go?
I think it's based on a quasi-honor system where they ask you, well, where did you live last and where would you like your ballot to go? So there's an opportunity. I hope there's no opportunity for mischief in that. But presumably they take your word for it. I lived in Muskoka, so I like my ballot to be cast in Muskoka. That kind of thing. Right.
Okay. Well, we don't want to give any political operatives tuning in some new ideas on this show. So again, we're not sure. Will the ballots be slow, trickling in slowly? Will it be on time? It'll definitely be a different campaign. Especially, I think it'll be a lot more of a digital campaign.
100%. You're seeing that already. You're seeing Aaron O'Toole has this whiz-bang studio that he presented the party platform, 160-page document, by the way, just recently at his studio. And then I participated in a town hall meeting that night, which had over 13,000 people in it, discussing the platform. So he's gone, not totally digital, but a lot more digital.